Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's Tracy with the Gather Community, and I am here to spotlight and highlight my good friend, Stephanie Flanders-Martin, who is a new creator at the time of recording here in the Gather Community. So excited to have her join us. Stephanie, you know I love you. I cannot wait for this year to come and to get to highlight you and showcase all of the amazing things that you have to offer to your clients. But before we start about that, tell us how you got here, a little bit about how you became the entrepreneur that you are now. We'll talk about what you do, but talk about how you got here so far.
Yeah. So I came from the corporate world, like many of us, years in the quick service restaurant business. I have my degree in nutrition and home economics, and I got out of college. And one of the things I struggled with was finding really what the right job for me. And I really wanted to go into weight loss and nutrition and all that. But at the time, I had moved to Southern California, and there was just really not a lot of opportunities unless you had an additional degree
I
or
was gonna
this
say
or
like a
that. So
master's probably, right?
yeah, I mean, you go into the next thing, right? And at the time, I just wasn't ready for that. So I said, okay, here we go. I got to have a job. And I just started applying for jobs and ended up in the food service business and fell in love with it. And part of what I love about it is, number one, I love the fast pace. I love the changing, everything's new. I'm one of those people that doesn't mind change. I love change. I love, kind of the challenge of change. So I
Mhm.
think I loved the speed, but I also love the people. I am a people person. So there's nothing more enjoyable to me than when I was working at McDonald's, standing at the end of the counter, pouring coffee on a Saturday morning, talking to people, walking around, getting to know people, knowing my regular, customers, just having fun. So, and I started to notice what I fell in love with was the training and the development, which
Mm.
then kind of moved me into my next part of my career and my growth, and ended my career as a vice president and oversaw several departments, traveling worldwide, opening restaurants, and just loved it and had a good time. But eventually got to the point where I had been downsized twice.
Mm.
I was kind of in that last place where the company had sold and the new owner wasn't going to take my role on. And so here we go. Like, what do we do next? And what I decided to do was to become an entrepreneur, knowing that my parents are both entrepreneurs, and I kind of had that in my blood anyway. So
Yeah.
off I went
Okay.
and
I want to
started.
pause you. I want to pause you before you go on to the next journey, because I find the whole working McDonald's really fascinating, because people don't know what that means, right? People don't know you worked at McDonald's, like it's McDonald's. But tell us more about like what that looked, because when you explained to me the in previous conversations, the 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 broad reach that you had and all of the things that you were doing, because you were working for McDonald's corporate or you were working for a
Right.
franchise. Okay. So
Yeah.
McDonald's corporate, like think about that, right? People think of the store and people know that they're franchise owned. So maybe it's someone who has a few franchises, but then McDonald's corporate it's like Walmart. It's like the
Yeah.
giant conglomerate company. So talk
Yeah.
a little bit about what that corporate environment taught you, like that
Yeah.
big of an environment.
Yeah. So, but prior to McDonald's, I was with Taco Bell, and
Oh, right.
I worked in research and development, but I also started in the restaurants. When I went to
So that's so
McDonald's,
interesting, like to work in research and development for a company like Taco Bell. It's it's so big. So yeah, talk more. Keep going.
yeah. I did quality assurance in Taco Bell. So I worked on, tortillas were sticking. I would contact the vendors. I would, work between the restaurants, the vendors, and all that kind of stuff. With McDonald's, I worked in a restaurant physically as an assistant manager in a fast track program, but then oversaw five and at one point six McDonald's. So I had about 10 to $12 million in business that I managed, oversaw hundreds of employees. And the one thing I loved, well, I should say, really enjoyed was getting to know the people, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
such a people person. So managing all the parts of the business was really what helped me as I grew into other roles and responsibilities.
Yeah. It's
And
such a
making,
like you had your fingers in every type
yeah,
of part of a
yeah,
giant, business, like you said, hundreds of employees. You got to manage the employees, manage the vendors, manage contracts, manage, problem solving,
Yeah.
service. Yeah, so good.
Yeah. And so when I was at McDonald's, I worked for what's called McOpCo, which is the company operations. So Mc and then OpCo, the company operations. And so I learned the company side.
Mhm.
McDonald's has a system for a system for a system. That's one of the things I loved about McDonald's was they are very,
That makes sense.
system oriented. And that's how they have been so successful in
Yeah.
their, venture. So I ran the restaurants and oversaw the restaurants, the financials, mostly the financials, the quality, the people, all that kind of stuff within my little 5 to 6 unit actually in Portland at that time. And then got that opportunity to go to another company and grew my, skill sets as director of training, vice president of business services, overseeing departments, traveling the world, blah, blah, blah. And I kept coming back to, what's next after my last right sizing, downsizing, whatever you want to call it. Correct sizing for me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's all part of the path, right?
Yeah.
And all of the things that you had a chance to learn. I see all of those, how you were talking about system for system for system. I see that in how you work now, right? Because you're so very clear about what's next to be done, what's going to work, and you can change things too, but you have a lot of clarity about all your processes that move you forward and move your business forward and take care of your clients too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So all of this downsizing, right sizing, you became an entrepreneur and you decided to do what?
So I became a health coach, health and wellness. So I kind of went back to my roots of what I really wanted to do. And as I continued to progress with that, I noticed within the health coaching, people were struggling with stress. So I added on stress management certification, really focused a lot on that. And through that, I found my journey into yoga. I practiced yoga for many years, which we've talked about since I was 29, so 31 years. And I always have found that that's a really good practice for my body. So at 50, became a yoga teacher. I think I was actually 51, but became a yoga teacher and I started tying all those pieces together, opened a yoga studio. As I grew my yoga studio that first year, I said, this is great. I love it. But I want to go, I'm missing the adventure part of my life because I had traveled so much for work. And then it kind of came to a screeching halt. I missed the adventure part. So I thought, let's do a retreat. So I did my first retreat to Thailand. Why not, right? The complete opposite side of the world.
Why not? I'll just go somewhere had you been there before?
I had been there before,
Okay.
which is why I chose Thailand, because I had done that as a work business trip and I knew the owners of this resort. So the owners were friends of mine and US side. And so I kind of worked with them on getting connected to the, right people and whatever.
Yeah.
So hosted my retreat and was hooked. And so then started doing stateside retreats, international retreats, which, as that path continued, really led me to my journey of, two things. Number one, how do I continue to grow my business? Which, I did by getting into Team Referral Network, because networking is the key to growing a new business, right? You can't do it just kind of in this parallel. You have to do it in a broad,
Yeah.
stroke thing. And then as I continued on, growing my yoga business and that kind of thing, I really found my desire to travel continuing to grow because I was traveling a lot, again, adventuring. I wanted to build my community more. And through that, we became certified travel agents. So as I've continued to kind of fine tune and really narrow in on what is it like I want to do when I grow up at 60.
Right.
My focus has become, the travel piece and taking small groups or, planning for small groups or doing retreats for small groups or taking, all kinds of adventures, whether they're mine or helping others plan theirs. Because I've done it so much now, I kind of have a rinse and repeat formula that works for me. And based on how retreat leaders want to plan their retreat, I'm either happy to plug in and help them with that or to help them with just doing the travel planning and then letting them, go on their own adventure. So that's really where my business model has gone. I just got back from Thailand and Bali. I took a group of 16 over there. So much fun. And then we did Bali as our scouting trip for our next retreat. So we've kind of got that set up for the next
Yeah.
retreat. But that's just what I've fallen in love with doing. And it's kind of like it is work, but it doesn't feel as much like work because I love so much,
Yeah.
love what I do.
Yeah, I loved it. And because you did just get back from Thailand, I want to share what I saw as a, a voyeur of the trip was a real opportunity for someone to find out about the culture and see the sights and experience the country with a really kind of soft hand to hold, right? Like it wasn't pressure, but it was full. Like you did a lot. You did something kind of real most days. Like not every single day there was a pool day or a spa day or whatever, one or two times, but like this day you did this event and that day you did that event. And I loved the variety. And the like one was, there was kind of the spiritual side and the crafty side and the food side and all of the different things and the sights and sounds kind of side. And I think that's what people are looking for when they go on a retreat, that like anyone can plan a trip and stay in a hotel and like go, okay, what are we going to do now? But if they're going to sign up to go on a retreat with someone, especially a group of 16, that's amazing. I didn't realize there were so many people going until I started seeing the pictures. The opportunity to also make new friends, connect with, maybe go along with people who you do know. I'm really looking forward to next year when we get to go on one together, because how many people are on the France trip that we have planned?
Yeah, we have 23 right now.
Yeah, and like freaking like, that's crazy. I seriously feel like there's 8 people and now there's going to be like 25 people.
Yes.
So it'll be so fun to be a part of a big group, but also be able to, there's just so much opportunity for whatever it is you're searching for, and without having to do all that legwork. So I'm so excited for that. And it's been so fun to watch people that I know enjoy it. And then I can be excited about next year too.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you mentioned Team Referral Network. I just want to say, for anyone who doesn't know what that is, this is a networking group that is, a single business owner networking group. You have a number of chapters in the Colorado, Washington, Oregon area, and an online chapter as well. And you mentioned that you do that because you have to you can't stay in one lane and grow, right? You really need to, for lack of a better term, kind of cast a wide net. We're not talking about trying to trap people, but you need to have this reach, right? This kind of network, right? That's what network comes from. I was on Michelle and Cynthia's podcast the other day, and we were talking about the idea of the value of connection and needing to be like from you to the next person and that person to that person. And now you are now connected to the other person, and all of the opportunity that networking brings you in order to grow whatever business you're looking for. So you mentioned your yoga business, not that you don't have the in-person studio anymore, but you still teach yoga and you still do yoga retreats, which is what the Thailand one was. And then the travel. So you're doing travel for people who want to host retreats like myself. You're helping me with some stuff for next year. You're also doing your own retreats like the Thailand one. And then sometimes you're there and sometimes you're not. So tell people who are thinking about doing a retreat why it's so smart for them to talk to you about what and where and how their retreat could look versus doing research on their own. Like, because you've blown me away with the things that that I never would have known. And a lot of us aren't in the, oh, I'll hire a travel agent mindset, because we're still in the 80s, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
sure.
talk about what modern travel agency support looks like, especially for entrepreneurs who may want to schedule retreats or family trips.
Yeah. So I think a couple of things that agents can do for you, and I will just speak for my agency because every agency is going to be very different. And my agency, obviously, we will do individual trips, family trips, small group trips. Like that stuff is super easy for us to do. And my husband, Marcus, is also an agent. So he kind of handles the small group and the individual trips. I really focus on planning retreats and working with retreat leaders. So the first thing I do when I meet with a potential retreat leader is, well, tell me what you want to accomplish. What does that look like? Because I need to understand if I'm going to plan your trip for you or find the best resort, retreat center, spot. What do you want that vibe to feel like? What do you want that to look like? How does all those things, right? So working with an agent, they can help match you with the best possible situation and go through our tons of I would say tools and things that we have at our fingertips, kind of the behind the scenes thing where I can really vet and understand what the retreat center is going to look like. I recently, well, say, I guess in the spring, I planned a trip for, our friend Elle Ballard.
Yeah.
And she's going to take a group to Bali, and we did a lot of research, and we kind of honed in on one resort. Well, when I was in Bali, I went to meet the actual planner, the retreat planner on that
Yeah.
trip.
Awesome.
And it was great. So I think just knowing that you have an agent behind you that can help walk you through those steps, but also ask you questions that you may not have thought about, because there are a lot of tripwires when you do retreats that, you don't want to walk into. And if you have somebody walking alongside you that's got that experience, it just helps to eliminate that. When you go international, you've got to plan a buffer for currency exchange fluctuates. So, do you have that in your plan? Are you ready for transportation challenges? Because moving groups around is not easy. So that's why working with an agent, especially somebody that's more experienced in the retreat business and has done a lot of retreats, if that's what your goal is, can help answer questions, but also ask good questions for you to think about or to consider.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely get that. Even just in this short list that you just listed, like the transportation thing is a big one. How do you move 15 people, 20 people, 8 people when all you've ever done is rent a car, right? Like, and planning for timing and problems and like, what do you do if they just don't show up?
Yeah.
Right, because you're in another country, you don't know what's going to happen, you don't really even know like how, you want to make sure to find reliable and like all of that. And in my mind, I'm playing through the scenario of, yeah, you get your whole group of people there and all of a sudden you don't have a ride to the next place. What do you do? How do you navigate that? And so the massive amount of resources that you have as an agent just blows away not to say that it'd be like so easy for you, because that kind of problem is a problem for everyone, but to solve stuff like that, especially when you're doing it from a business standpoint and as a retreat leader, I don't want to be, okay, I'm going to need a couple of hours, you guys just go hang out, right? It's the giving the retreat leader the freedom to be with the people that paid them to go on a retreat with them, and having the travel professional handle the travel stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part too.
Yeah, I think I would say that's the one thing we've been able to work through and help retreat leaders with is we can really, as we ask those questions, then I go back to that resort or that retreat center and say, okay, my leader needs this time, this room, agreed upon, coffee, tea, or whatever at that time, blah, blah, blah. Can people do it individually? Sure. But again, your job, as our friend Katerina says, is to stay in sales and to take care of your community that is there. And you don't want to worry about those details. So that's why, hiring somebody like me to help you with those details, I think has been helpful. And trust me, I've made the mistakes and I've learned from the mistakes, and I understand how to now eliminate or minimize that ever happening.
Okay, let's talk about money, because the people who have never worked with a travel pro, who are wanting to do a retreat and maybe have done them before and have handled everything themselves, may think that, and there's depends on what you're doing and what your margin looks like, but the idea of having someone handle things that you've been handling yourself and the mystery of what that's going to cost me to do. So talk about how you get paid as someone who is helping someone put together, and you can use like a mystery, friend that we have together that they're planning their thing, but names have been changed.
Yeah.
Give us a
Protect
run
the
through
innocent.
of like of what that looks like for
Yeah.
them if they had done it themselves versus if they're working with you. Like maybe like a Costa Rica, for example. If someone wanted
Yeah.
to do a retreat in Costa Rica, why should they go through you instead of going direct?
Yeah. Well, number one, if we speak specifically about Costa Rica, I have a vetted center that I can tap into to use. And that actually, I met her through networking. She actually owns the resort. She lives here, but she owns the resort down there.
Wow.
So I think, you minimize that type of time that it takes to
Like
not
the
just pick
research
some
time.
random place and hope for the best, fingers crossed, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you've got somebody that's already vetted this center or this place. Um, and then when you hire me, I do all that work for you. So I take that legwork. And if we want to take an example of just a kind of a recent person that came to me, she had a couple of concepts, a couple of ideas where she wanted to go. I had been to a couple of those places, so I shared, well, in this country, this is the experience I had. This is a great resort. In this country, this is the experience I had. This is a great resort. Here's a couple of options. What feels better to you?
Mm-hmm.
Or would you like to look at something new? Ultimately, she decided on that. So I charge a fee to do all that planning for them. And then there's a per person fee that I then add on depending on the package they want to support their client. So,
Okay.
minimal to more, depending on how that looks. So then that's just an ongoing service where, let's say that you sign up for one of their retreats, Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to this one that I'm just planning for a new client, I onboard you. So I make sure that you get, you feel comfortable with where you're going. We've got you signed up. You've signed the travel release form that we put together,
So
blah, blah,
you're
blah.
doing all of the travel related onboarding where
Right,
the retreat leader is doing whatever their work is, whether
right,
it's transformational coaching or,
right.
whatever their business is. They'll do that part, but you'll do all of the
Yep.
details related to the actual travel, the flying, all the transportation and understanding the country you're going to and exchanges and money and all of
Yeah.
the things.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love that. And then knowing that, since like I mentioned, I'm going on that trip with you next year, I know some of the behind the scenes things that you're planning from the full package of retreat and the continuing to have the experience start from before you leave, right? It's not just, okay, we'll get your flight and you want to make sure to land on this day
Yeah.
and we'll see you when you get there,
Yeah.
right? You're really looking at the whole experience and supporting the client or the leader from like before any of that, right? I
Right.
know that those of us who are flying to Europe next year, it's like, well, don't worry about it. I will reach out to you when it's time to do this and we'll
Yeah.
go through that together. So the comfort level is so much greater,
Yeah.
especially for someone maybe who hasn't done a lot of traveling or has never been to the country that you're talking about,
Yeah.
or to the part of the country that, if it's here in the States or whatever.
Yeah.
There's so much opportunity for mystery
Yeah.
related to adventure, which is part of the adventure, but also we want to make sure that we're safe and sound.
Yeah. So I recently had during when I was in Bali, I had two new clients sign up for our Costa Rica retreat.
Awesome.
One reached out to me and she has traveled with her husband, but never traveled as an individual.
Yeah.
And so getting her comfortable with that, right? And having a conversation with me, we emailed and then I called her yesterday when we got back. And just had a conversation with her. Well, what are your concerns? Where do you feel really good about this? Where do you feel, concerned? And we ended up coming up with a really good solution for her on her flight plan, on when she could meet, like when I will be there, so she can definitely know, like, I'm going to be here then. You welcome to follow us and come with us. You're welcome to just meet up with us. What feels best to you?
Yeah.
So I think just making sure that everybody feels, whether you're the retreat leader or whether you're the travel planner, that, Tracy's going with us. Tracy needs to feel comfortable that we're going to land here, or let's look for flights here. And oh, by the way, our new retreat that I have a group going to Vietnam and Cambodia coming up in September. Their visas are really tricky in Vietnam.
Mm.
So I've been going
Yeah,
through,
I haven't even flown anywhere that has visas, so that's another
yeah,
thing that's
yeah.
complicated. Yeah,
And every country is different, right? So visa in Vietnam is a little tricky. So I've gone through all of the details for everybody. Now I started, kind of writing out, handwritten things. I'm going to open up a Zoom room and get on with a group that's going with us. If you'd like to plug in and come do the visa with me, then I'll do it alongside you, or, just read my written instructions.
right.
So it's being able to help people kind of navigate what the challenges and opportunities are. And then knowing if you need a visa, do this. If you don't need a visa, like, be here. If you need transportation, I'll help book it. If you need, so just being a resource, I think, helps retreat leaders know that their people will be taken care of.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah. And that's the bottom line, right? That's what we want as a retreat leader, is to know that it's all being, anything that we're not an expert in is also being taken care of, right? We could contract with a resort place on our own and stuff, but there's so many pieces that we might not think about, that we might not really even understand. And when problems arise, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right? There's no one, if you don't have someone there as your right hand handling those as an expert, then you're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, you're screwed. Well, that's amazing. Okay. So yeah, so what I know and what we talked about, is just to wrap up, is that you can help people with hosting their retreats, planning their travel, family, friends, clients, all of the above, yourself. Like, you want to go on a 3-city speaking tour and these are your speaking dates, you'll help them find out how to get there the best way, where they're going to stay, how they're going to get from place to place. I know recently we stayed together in San Francisco. It's like, well, there's parking, you have your car, this is the great place, look at these restaurants. Like, it was such a great experience to stay at this place that you chose, that I never would have probably found. Like, it was small enough on the radar of like Google that I never would have noticed it. In fact, because I had looked for it before and never found it. We talked about that. That's complicated.
Yeah.
But the resources and the opportunity to find the right decision, the right solution out of the variety of the planet, of all of the chances, is so helpful. So
Yeah.
I love that. If you could kind of wrap up with if you're thinking about travel, phrase, like wrap up phrase, how should we close this out for you?
Yeah. So I have 2 things I'd like to wrap up with.
Yeah.
The first one is, if you're just looking for an escape or an opportunity to get away, either yourself, your partner, or your friend, family, small group of friends, whatever that is, we would be grateful for the opportunity to plan that travel for you. We don't charge a fee. We get paid by our vendors. On
Yeah,
retreat,
I think
that's a
that's an
little different.
important, so we didn't talk about that, but let's talk about that just a
Yeah.
little bit. So for example, you and I stayed together in San Francisco for a few days.
Yep.
You booked the hotel. You got paid by the hotel for the booking.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we were staying together as girlfriends and in this program together. You weren't my travel agent per se, but you were, in the sense of, you booked travel for me, for yourself, and the hotel pays you a fee to do that.
Right.
What I paid would have been the same or even more, because sometimes you get specials too
Better
as
deal.
an
Yeah.
agent, right? So you
Yeah.
get deals as an agent. I probably paid less and you got a fee out of it for doing that together. And I
Right.
love that. That's why that weekend I had you book my next trip, which is
Yeah.
weekend.
Yay.
Because it's like, okay, this is when I need to go. This is when I need to. And it's interesting because working with an agent, working with you, like, it forces you to get clear on what it is you're trying to do, instead of spending an hour searching and Googling and because I had already looked at flights and hotels for my San Diego trip. But when I was just like, you know what, Stephanie, can you just take care of this for me? And it was literally done in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, and costs were fine, and you also got your fee out of it, and so it's
Yeah.
win-win for everyone. So it's so
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. So I think on that would be one thing I would share. The second thing I wanted to share is if you're interested in hosting retreats, Katarina and I have a program, and it's really helping retreat leaders understand the tripwires of retreats, how to do a retreat. Between Katarina and I, we posted, I don't know, we should probably come up with that number together, but we posted so many of them. So you'll get an opportunity to learn through a program, become a certified retreat leader, and then, hopefully work with me as a travel, professional on that. Or you're always welcome to call and engage with me as a travel professional and work with me on your retreat. But I do want to mention that program because I know you're in it,
Yeah.
and several other people that have wanted to host retreats. It gives them an opportunity to go through a whole training program and system that Katarina has put together, but also that I'm, kind of feeding into and
Right.
helping support. So
Yeah, and I love that program. I'm really excited about it. I've done Katarina's part of the retreats program before, way many years ago before I ever did retreats, but it was always something that I knew I was gonna want to do later. So I took the class early, or the program early. But what I love is that you and she and Angela, from a marketing standpoint, are all gonna touch on all of the things, right? How do you plan it, sell it, where do you where is it, for what are the pitfalls, what are the things to watch out for, how do you market it, how do you promote it, like everything from idea to implementation.
yeah.
And it's going to be a great program. I'm super excited for
Yeah.
that. And you know what, when you just said, oh, and you'd be certified retreat leader, I'm like, wait, am I certified already? Kind of am, but I can't wait to have this new certification under my belt before my March retreat. So that'll be great too. I forgot all about that. Yes,
Yeah.
it's going to be a great program. I am in it, and knowing the women who are teaching it and all of the experience that all of you have to bring to it, and some of the people who are signed up, it's going to be so fun. And
Yeah.
people who are already also have done retreats but want that next level of real, to take their work to the next level for their
Right.
clients too. So it's going to be great.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
if they're
well, we'll
looking
make
for,
sure
you
to
know,
include that link for the program, because I didn't even think about that
Yeah.
when we send this out.
Yeah, if you're looking for another way to expand your business like I did, right? So I had a yoga studio and I'm like, what's next, or how else can I enhance this? And you're thinking that whether you're a coach or you're, whatever that is. I have a real estate agent friend that's very passionate about helping single moms. And I said, let's do a retreat for you. Why don't you put a retreat where you can kind of nurture these moms and do a self-care weekend, but then give them the tools and techniques they need to start to figure out how to own a home. What is the
Yeah.
starting point? All
Oh, it's
those things.
beautiful.
So, it's getting creative on whatever your business model is. How can you use a retreat to
Yeah.
grow that business model?
Bottom line, if you work with women, especially, everyone needs retreats. You just have
Yeah.
to figure out how to tie it together from a branding and marketing standpoint, that it makes sense. Like, who's your client? What do they need? Put something together that will support them in being their best self in that area, so that you can stay connected to them, be seen as someone who supports them in their life and potentially their business, so they can move forward. I love it. Yeah, everyone needs retreats. Let's do it. All right, Stephanie, I'm so thrilled that you're a creator in the Gather community. This was a while coming. I know that we're just like, okay, here's the time, it's ready. So I'm super excited to have you. And since this is going to come out in September, we're going to have lots of summits and workshops and everything coming up to come. So people be on the lookout for all of the things that Stephanie's going to be doing. And I can't wait for it to happen. We will
Me
talk
too.
to
Thanks
you.
so much.
Yeah, of course. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Thanks, Tracy.